So this book was translated from Greenlandic to Danish and then Danish to English, meaning that the English version has 2 language filters that it was run through, and you can honestly tell sometimes.
Oh yeah, baby. Friday, my absolute favorite day of the week. Oh, invincibility. Oh, bliss.
Sure. Crimson by, I'm sorry if I butcher the pronunciation on this name, Niviaq Corneliusen, is a novel about several LGBT youths thriving in the party scene in the Greenlandic capital of Nuuk. This novel was an absolute roller coaster. Though I wouldn't go so far as to call it innovative, it plays with literary form in a way that had me enthralled from start to finish. It's also uncompromisingly sexual, reader discretion is advised, and features 2 breakups, several one-night stands, a prison break, and 5 narrators. This book is dense. Also, if you live in the US, this novel was published under the title Last Night in Nuuk. That happens sometimes, just be aware of it if you decide to seek out this novel in America. Honestly, the blurb on the back of my copy does a better job of summarizing the story than I ever could. Check this out.
Nuuk, Greenland. 5 friends. Fia breaks up with her long-term boyfriend for Sarah. But Sarah is in love with Ivik, who is about to break promises. Ivik struggles with gender dysphoria, and Enoch is caught in a scandal involving social media, sex, and betrayal. Behind the scenes is Arnak, the life of the party, who brings a web of manipulations to a crescendo.
Well, I mean, even that is a mild description of this book. The novel also features several out-there writing techniques, like stream of consciousness.
I sigh, no longer listening to what he says, merely nodding. He asked me something, didn't quite catch it. Your colleague's what? The sweetest man knows I'm not listening, but tries again. Igu. Have you seen Jürgen's work? No. Why? Igu. It's really inspiring. Nod once more. You're really feeling bad today, huh? Feel the urge to leave. No, I just need some fresh air. I'll just go for a walk. Igu. Yes, sounds like a good idea. I'll come with you. I could do with a breath of fresh air myself. Crap. Instant regret. Igu. Put some warm clothes on. I'm not a baby, I want to say. Stop talking to me like that. But as he takes my hand, I take his hand. As he gives me his heart, I hold it. As he sacrifices his heart, I want to ruin it.
Also showing up in this novel is epistolary format.
Greenland is not my home. I feel sorry for the Greenlanders. I'm ashamed of being a Greenlander. But I'm a Greenlander. I can't laugh with the Danes. I don't find them funny. I can't keep up a conversation with the Danes. I find it boring. I can't act like the Danes. I'm unable to imitate them. I can't share Danish values. I don't respect them. I'll never look like the Danes. I can't become blonde or fair-skinned. I can't be a Dane among Danes. I'm not a Dane. I can't live in Denmark. Denmark is not my country. Where is home? If home isn't in Greenland, if home isn't here, where is my home? Lost.
There's also this.
You up?
Hi.
Party?
No.
Can I come?
My girlfriend is sleeping next to me.
See you at my place? Hello?
And if that wasn't enough, there are also, hashtags?
It truly is a day for San Francisco. Just as the Laswell song says. Then the music changes. Hashtag Crimson and Clover.
And naturally, this is another of my polyphonic narrators that I love so much. I'll be honest, I'm still apprehensive about the use of hashtags. I don't think that they were successful at all. However, I understand the impetus to try and give literary form to the way that my generation communicates, which is why I actually do like how the text messages are done in this novel. You just read them in the same way you would read texts on your own phone. There's no dissonance there. I've read a few contemporary YA novels where text messaging is either no different from regular dialogue, or is handled by just writing out a transcript of the conversation, and that's never really sat well with me. Transcribing a text conversation actually seems to be the default for how instant messaging is handled in literature. Crimson's approach, practically speaking, isn't any different than the transcript approach. I mean, we're still given a word-for-word copy of the conversation to read through, but having the phone app layout printed on the page somehow made it feel far better than the transcript format of something like John Green or Mason Deaver. I'm still mulling over exactly why this is, but my working theory is that being able to see the phone layout on the page completely divorces the texting interaction from the normal way scenes are written in regular passages, which emphasizes that being drawn into the screen of a phone and texting your friends is a wholly different form of communication and interaction than meeting and speaking with them face to face. And this might not be achieved to the same effect as when the text conversation is transcribed. Yes, the form is still different from the regular dialogue in this case, but it's still seamlessly embedded in regular paragraphs. It nonetheless feels like a normal dialogue rather than a distinct form of character interaction when compared to speaking in person. It's not a spectacular use of form by a long stretch, however, I felt compelled to examine it precisely because of the much more conventional uses of literary form that I mentioned earlier. Stuff like stream of consciousness and epistolary format. Crimson is a novel of changing forms, and traditional use of literary form like that helped me understand that form is the key thing that makes this novel what it is. This is why I think Crimson is worth reading. It's got a deeply engaging story about very intimate conflicts surrounding love, sex, trust, betrayal, and self-discovery. Emotions run high, wounds dig deep, friendships, family ties, and romances are tested in a short but dense narrative where the majority of emotion is contained in and expressed by literary form. Now, for the literature academics who happen to be watching, first of all, why are you watching me? I don't... But also, I'll just allay your curiosity for a bit. No, this isn't as complex as something like James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, or William Faulkner, who amongst others are probably the authors who sprang to mind when I mentioned this novel uses stream of consciousness. Crimson's use of stream of consciousness is far more legible and far less free associative than the modernist examples of the technique, but that's also why I think this novel is worth recommending to a general audience. If you've ever been interested in the modernist authors who use complex literary form, but have found yourself kind of excluded by the sheer illegibility of many of their works, Crimson could actually be a good way for you to access a more readable sample of literary techniques in storytelling. These divergent forms of writing and the different ways in which the reader receives the stories of each of these characters are fitting for a novel saturated with LGBT content. All 4 of those letters, in fact. Each chapter takes the perspective of a different protagonist and changes the form of the text in that chapter to match. The divergent forms lend a unique identity to the characters as the reader bears audience to how each of them tells their own stories, which are intensely emotional. I'm not usually a fan of YA, and I guess this isn't strictly YA fiction, but okay, look, I'll put it this way. It's one of the few realism novels about young people doing young people things that I've read recently, which was able to keep my interest. Oh my... Wow! I have never sounded like more of an old man in my entire life. I am 25. I have a couple of gripes, first of which is the overall writing style. Despite having a commanding use of literary form, I feel like the word-by-word writing was quite simplistic and even clumsy in many places. I'm not sure how much that's because the novel was translated twice. Translation quirks are a I know it when I see it kind of thing. It's entirely possible the "Oh yeah baby Friday" quote I highlighted at the beginning probably sounds better in Greenlandic, but that thing about sausages in Fia's chapter is definitely Danish. Crimson, or Last Night in Nook if you're American, is an interesting novel that tries to be a wild card in both its characters and its form. It succeeds and fails in various ways, and for this reason is difficult to recommend even though I think it's overall very good. So if you're open-minded, looking for something a little different, and have a stomach for alcohol, outrage, and one-night stands, I'd say it's worth giving this one a shot. The UK version of this novel was published in 2018 and the US version was published in 2019, so it shouldn't be difficult to find a copy in your local bookstores. I found mine in a major bookstore chain in Melbourne. If you have trouble finding this book in stores, I've linked several online book retailers in the description who I recommend, such as Better World Books, Alibris, and Blackwell's. I hope you enjoyed this video or found it useful. You can help me by doing all the things that help my channel grow, primarily subscribing, clicking the bell, and sharing this video with your friends or on social media. I would appreciate that a lot, and thanks for watching.